So, Death Valley. I went there a couple months ago, and there was snow on the ground here in Indiana, and it was over 100 degrees there. This is the same time, in the same country. So obviously Death Valley is pretty hot, but is it really the hottest place on Earth like people say it is? I mean, as far as we know, yeah. But there's actually a lot more controversy and discussion about this than you might be expecting. So, on July 10th, 1913, Death Valley had a recorded air temperature of 134 degrees Fahrenheit. Sounds absolutely horrible. But in 1922, in Al-Azizia, Libya, they recorded a temperature of allegedly 136 degrees Fahrenheit. But that was overturned by the World Meteorological Association in 2012, putting Death Valley back into the limelight as the hottest place on Earth. And the reason it was overturned, I guess there were several reasons, one of which being that the person who recorded the temperature was reportedly inexperienced at taking temperatures. I mean, how hard could it possibly be? Furthermore, apparently the thermometer this person used in Libya to record the temperature was antiquated even for that time, 1922. So I can see why it wasn't trusted, but 1913 in Death Valley is still in Death Valley, hasn't gotten super close to 134 since then. So, I mean, there is some skepticism there. But don't worry, I'll cover any questions you could possibly have. Believe you me. Okay, so those reasons regarding Libya, those could be discarded by believers of Libya's status as the hottest country in the world. But nearby measurements were not even close to 136 degrees, whereas on that day in Death Valley, there's not such a strong indicator that that was wrong. In Libya, they actually declared that the reading was about 12.6 degrees Fahrenheit below what it was reported as. I don't know how they could possibly know that, especially 100 years in the past. There's no weather predictor that could be quite that accurate to the 10th of a degree Fahrenheit. But that's not my problem to discuss. I'm just here to say what has transpired on this topic. Once Libya was discarded, this put the heat on Furnace Creek, pun intended. Yes. Because really, it was an earlier reading. Really, no proof besides probably some equally inexperienced dude not really knowing what's going on. And it has cast a lot of doubt on Death Valley's status as the hottest place. And a big problem with the Libya reading, this is relevant to the Death Valley reading, is that you have to be holding the thermometer a certain point above ground temperature, because the ground temperature can conduct energy or radiate energy. I should go back to my AP Physics 2 days and remember those terms. But basically, if you take the air temperature kind of close to the ground, it's going to be quite inflated. That might have contributed to what happened in Libya, and there's no real proof that didn't happen in Death Valley, which casts a lot of doubt on the legitimacy of the reading. And in fact, they're saying the legitimacy of the 1913 Death Valley reading of 134 degrees Fahrenheit is inflated by about 4 degrees, which would bring it down to about 130 degrees Fahrenheit, which puts it in contention with Kuwait, which has officially been measured at 129.2 degrees Fahrenheit, which would pretty much make them tied. But as recently as July of 2021, which was just over a year ago at this point, there was a reading of 129.9 in Death Valley as opposed to 129.2 in Kuwait. So with legitimate temperature measurement Death Valley is still the hottest place, but it's not quite 134. It's like 129.9, nearly 130. And you may think, oh, case closed. If only it were that simple. The World Meteorological Association has not yet confirmed this measurement of 129.9 degrees Fahrenheit from just over a year ago in Death Valley, which I don't want to throw mud at the World Meteorological Association. I'm just going to call it the WMA. Meteorological is too long of a word. There's no way they're that strapped for time. Because if this 134 temperature is discarded, then it will just kind of be tossed up. Which location is hottest? And if they were to validate this 129.9 in Death Valley, you wouldn't really have that problem because it would still be deferred to Death Valley. It would just have to be a reclarification of the exact number. But apparently they have a lot of stuff going on. Climate change and whatnot. No silly Guinness World Records per se. This is off topic, but if you ever see Texas mirrored, that's how I'm seeing it right now in the camera. It is weird. Like, if you look at countries mirrored or upside down to what your brain is used to seeing, it doesn't look like it's just a mirrored or upside down version of that country. It looks completely different. Texas mirrored is quite a goofy looking state, whereas looking at it normally, it's like, of course, that's what Texas looks like. So yeah, Death Valley is still officially the hottest place on Earth. But there are many, many other accounts of hotter temperatures just recorded and posited by many other countries. As far as air temperature goes, the most egregious claim was by Portugal. And the hottest confirmed country in Europe is Greece. But Portugal is just really trying to get their claim to fame. They're saying in 2 minutes, the air temperature once went from 100 degrees Fahrenheit to 158 degrees Fahrenheit. I mean, 158 degrees Fahrenheit is the temperature required to cook an egg. So they're positing that it got so hot in Portugal some time ago, that the air could cook an egg. Nevertheless, the ground temperature, I mean, come on. I guess if you're going to make it an obviously outrageous claim, go all the way. Don't be like, oh, it's 135 degrees. Like, that's no fun, because then they actually have to consider it. However, if you make it so insane, they're not going to consider it, but you'll get placed in the record books for the most ridiculous claim. And I guess that has its own merit. So regarding ground temperature, this one isn't confirmed, but it's not nearly as brought as much skepticism as that 158 degree claim of Portugal, and that is the Death Valley ground temperature in 1972, which is 201 degrees Fahrenheit. That sounds horrible. Absolutely horrible. That is about 40 degrees Fahrenheit warmer than required to cook an egg. I saw this video of this, perhaps British or maybe Australian reporter. I'm not saying I don't know the difference between those accents. I'm just saying I couldn't remember. I just knew he wasn't American. But he was in Death Valley, and he had this skillet, and he cracked an egg on it, but it wasn't cooking. It's because he just brought the skillet out of his car that was probably air conditioned. He was like, it's not cooking, obviously, so therefore, this is flawed. I don't know. Maybe he's just jealous. He's not from the country with the hottest place on Earth. But I'm not one to judge. I am one to judge, but I'm not one for my judgments to be listened to by other people with any sort of concern. Okay, so now the third and final way that people have found to fabricate insanely high temperatures is through satellite. And this one I really don't understand. Because there's a tie to the 10th of a degree between the Sonoran Desert, which is kind of by Mexico and like southern Arizona region, and the Lut Desert of Iran, both of which are about 177.4 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't know what the satellite is technically measuring. There's no way it could possibly be measuring temperature at that level, because at that elevation of a satellite, it's going to be pretty cold. But apparently, 177.4 degrees exactly between two different places on Earth. Who knows? But it would be cool to experience 134 degrees once. But I want to go back to Death Valley when I can actually go outside and hike, like in April. It was hot, but it was doably hot. If it's 120 plus, you can't really be going on 2 or 3 hour hikes with just one water bottle worth of water. But I do know this. If you want to experience some insanely hot temperatures, you don't have to travel to Death Valley in July, or to the Lut Desert, or Portugal, or the Sonoran Desert, or any of those things. Just go to the local sauna. It goes much higher than Death Valley ever has naturally in the air. And that's my pro tip for today. Thanks for watching.